Hi there, this is my channel, Jaru Walks. In the year 2024, I will embark on an epic walking journey across the United States. I plan to hike 8,000 miles and to cross the U.S. 3 times, via the Appalachian Trail, Pacific Crest Trail, and Continental Divide Trail. In the hiking world, this is known as a calendar year Triple Crown and has been completed by only a handful of hikers in history. The calendar year Triple Crown has traditionally been completed by jumping within or between the trails throughout the year, primarily to avoid snow, but also to avoid other seasonal hazards such as floods, extreme desert heat, and wildfires. For my attempt, I'm trying to hike each trail on a continuous, unbroken, end-to-end footpath, and to accomplish this, I must hike across all 4 seasons. I will be posting weekly updates along the way, so you can join me for the journey. Wish me luck. Alrighty. Check this out. The bell sounds are cows. I cannot spot them though down there. But I did spot way over here the interstate. You can see the semi trucks, they really stick out on the horizon. Pretty amazing. Thank you. That's a lot of railroad ties. I just crossed the train tracks right there. And then I heard, as I was just about to go down the hill, a rumbling. And so I think my timing couldn't have been any more perfect. Not that it matters that much, it's just funny though. Because there we go. And it's moving slowly. That'd be so annoying to get stuck at these train tracks and have to wait on a train moving 5 miles an hour. Alrighty, I'm walking up to Callahan's Lodge for I don't really know what's next. Quick resupply and recharge of my devices is the hope. I was wanting to hitchhike into Ashland, but I think this place looks so dead that I don't really have a hope of that. So I guess I'll be here for the next couple of hours. And funny walking in, I really have no idea what they have on offer. If they have good food or if it's just gonna be tiny bags of chips. I hope that it's good food. Hey.
Random question, are you needing a ride to Ashland?
Yeah, actually.
That way, if you'd like one.
That would be awesome. Yeah,
Okay.
like right now?
Yeah,
Okay.
I literally, this is my friend I just picked up.
Mhm.
I was getting gas.
Okay.
So I just happened to give him a ride here, so I might as well give somebody a ride back.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, so
Yeah.
thank you so much. Yeah.
One of my followers
Yeah.
just told me about you.
Yeah.
I looked you up
Yeah.
just on my ride here.
Oh, that's so funny.
He's doing Pacific Crest Trail, Continental Divide Trail, and the Appalachian Trail all in 1 year.
Yeah.
So he's not.
That's so crazy. It's so funny. I was actually like walking up filming saying, I wish I could go hitchhike into Ashland, but it looks like that's not going to be possible. I'm literally still just randomly recording,
Oh, that's
saying I don't even know what's in this building. Yeah.
This is a fancy
That's so funny.
restaurant. I
But
literally...
they're not open until 3 p.m. today for food. So that's why I was like, okay, I'm wondering if
y'all need Gatorade?
if you have one,
I
I'll
have
take
a
one.
But I bet he could really use.
What's your name?
Sorry.
Or both of you guys? Yeah.
My name's Emily. I'm
Emily.
not a hiker yet.
Yeah.
It's my dream.
Nice.
And so, I only have one. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you. Do you want it?
Oh no.
Because
sorry.
I'm about to go into town. If you want it, you
right,
can,
but
yeah.
I just got out of town.
Okay.
You
All right. Just
enjoy
making
it
sure.
right now.
Yeah. sweet. That's so funny.
You
You're,
drink Diet Coke?
No, I don't. Thank you, though.
Do you think you would find anybody that does?
Awesome. So I'm in the car with Emily. She picked me up. I think if I edit this the way that I think I will, she'll be in the last video where I was walking up and saying, oh man, I wish I could go to Ashland, but that's not going to work. And then she says, hey, do you need a ride to Ashland, while I'm filming, which is funny. And then the guy who was in her car, his name is Stash, or Mustache, for his awesome mustache. I've been following him on Far Out for like a couple of weeks now, and he has the best comments on Far Out. And I think he said he does YouTube, so if I catch him again, I'll ask him about his channel name. But even he was looking out saying, oh, that guy might need a ride. So that's why she even asked me, which was pretty awesome. And then we just been hanging out for like the last 2 hours going into town. Turns out she's, as I've learned to expect at this point with the Trail Angels, an amazing person. So one thing you were telling me about of like the million things we talked about that I thought was just really interesting, and it's something that I would like associate with Oregon, although it's something I'd never heard about before, was you were saying that you volunteered at a like homeless kitchen, but what was different about this homeless kitchen versus a typical one? Yeah.
One of the best experiences of my life. I loved it because it was an actual restaurant. So instead of just being like a soup line where people just walk through and you're standing behind some stupid visor and like putting food in their bowl, it was actually set up where we had waitresses, and so...
And you're a waitress.
I was a waitress, so if I came to your table, I'm going to greet you just like I would if you were in any restaurant that you were paying to eat at. I'm going to take your order, I'm going to come back with your drinks, I'm going to come back with bread or entree, and then I'm going to come back again with desserts and offer you choices and be able to interact with you. For me, the best part of that experience was being able to show people respect and dignity, which I think honestly went further than the food, if I'm being real, because there are a lot of resources where you can get food. But to be able to have somebody treat you as though you deserve to be seen, it was an experience that changed my life. To be able to just have connection with people who had no expectation for me in a moment where I had a lot of expectation for myself that I didn't feel like I was living up to, if you will. And to be able to just be present with them and meet a tangible need, but meet a human kindness need. It's something that I forever cherish. And honestly, I wish every town had a homeless, honestly, like ministry or a homeless support that operated in a way that was more than just like, hey, I'm here to give you something, but like, hey, I'm here to...
It's almost like it's
person.
limiting the contact of the helper with the helpee, right? The recipient. And it's almost a I don't want to be overly critical, because those people are great for even taking the time to do that, but it's almost like it's like you're getting off on the helping rather than the really like connecting with that person, not like a person, but as an actual person. So like if you meet someone, rather than to like almost like it's subconscious, you know, but like talk down to them. If you see how much, like, oh, how are you doing? You know, like that kind of like, yeah. And so like, instead of having that tone to your voice, just to be like, hey, how's it going, man? Or like, how's it going? You know, to anybody, right?
The way you talk to anybody. Layer of separation that says, I'm here to volunteer and you're here to receive.
Yes.
But like,
the waiter
let's both
role.
be here as humans.
To me, is brilliant.
And I get to, how blessed am I that I get to serve you, which is incredible. Like, to be able to serve other humans is one of the greatest experiences.
I have a question too. So like, in the national media, when we hear about Oregon, the most common news line that I hear is specifically focusing on Portland. And people speak of Portland the same way that they speak of San Francisco, which is to say that those cities have gone downhill. And that's, I think, a euphemism or coded language for saying that there are a lot of homeless people in Los Angeles, San Francisco, Portland. It's all these West Coast cities that have become almost borderline sanctuary cities for homeless people. But the way that gets translated in the national media, and this might be the exit here, in the national media is, these are just grime holes. You know, they just, any city that opens its arms to homeless people, you know, is now a dystopia. And to some extent that could be true, but I'm just curious, like, being, like, I could take that so much further, but I'm just trying to keep it short. Like, being in Oregon is, like I guess,
how do you call yourself, an Oregonite or an Oregonian?
Oregonian.
Yeah, so as an Oregonian, does that ring any bells for you? I don't know if that's just Portland or if it's all of Oregon, because when you say, like, I saw a lot of homeless people in the city, and you had brought up working at this really innovative and, to me, genius food camp where you're not just handing cans out or serving food out that's cooked in a kitchen, you know, with a table between you and the homeless, like, but actually engaging with them. It makes me think there's something going on in this state that's much bigger than just Portland, if that makes sense. And I think that there's an unspoken other side of the story. And so that's not really a question, but like just kind of bouncing off of that, does any of that ring true for you?
So I've seen a lot of changes in our state as we have decriminalized drugs and done some other things. But just assuming that because a place has a larger homeless population than maybe it did some years back, that means it's gone by the wayside is really a scary, I guess, a scary mindset, because if we as humans cease to be open to helping other people that may have needs that we can meet, then as a society, like, we're going nowhere good. So I would like to say that I've seen changes in this state that are hard, because you are actually like seeing people that are struggling, but it's not that the people weren't struggling, it's just that maybe now they're more visible. So you have the option of like being able to go, you know what, I'm going to be willing to see people struggle and love them right where they're at, or I'm going to go to another place, another state, or another city where where poverty's hidden, right? But it doesn't not exist.
Right.
So it's like you can hide from it and pretend that it's not there, so that maybe you can sleep better at night. But who does that make you as a person? Not someone I want to be.
My suspicion, which I want to investigate someday, is that after COVID, there were a lot of people who lost work and then, for one of a few reasons, found themselves unemployed. Some of whom are by choice, many of whom are not. And then with this rise in unemployment and homelessness resulting from that around the United States, there's just this surplus of homeless people. And then many large cities in America where these people congregate, because there are more services there, they are inundated. And then politically, the response of the society is one of rejection, not one of investigation to understand the individual, but one of rejection, where they literally buy you a bus ticket to one of 4 cities that have open hearts: Los Angeles, San Francisco, Portland, maybe Seattle, I don't know, maybe Medford. And the result of that is those cities which have open hearts are overrun with homeless people, but you still have people like you working at a kitchen where you're not just doling food out, you know, on one Thursday night of the week. And again, the people who do that already in other cities are amazing. I'm not making it a competition of generosity, but you take it to another level where you're engaging eye to eye with these people. And so what's happening is the cities and the people who are foisting the people in need in their communities off into other cities, dumping them like dogs in trash in those cities with an $18 bus ticket or whatever it costs to go from, you know, wherever in Nebraska to Portland, Oregon, are now pointing their bony fingers at those cities that had the compassion and the willpower to take their money as a city and put it towards helping those people, and to have their supposed qualities of their lives reduced because they're living around these people, which to most societies is a reduction in quality of life. That these people who actually have the kindness not only to experience that, but after it's gone quote unquote downhill by the wayside, not just for 6 months now, for years, they've seen it happen and they're aware that it's happening in their own city. They continue to vote to help those people. We as a country are dogging on them, which is, to me, that's what I think is really happening. But I think it's unbelievably despicable that's what's happening in the United States. And I don't know, but like I said, like, that's something where, like, I someday want to take time to go to these cities like San Francisco or Portland to actually talk to the homeless people and talk to the people in the city. Yeah, seriously.
For real, I'll meet you there.
And to figure out the truth of what's happening. Like, you know, like, did you just start out in San Francisco, or did you come in from another place? Did you get here on a bus ticket? Did you get here by hitchhiking? Did someone pay for your bus ticket? Like, I think that, like, that's the bigger story, and it's remarkable, the simplicity, as Hannah Arendt would say, the banality of the evil at play here, where these few sanctuary, you know, you won't even call it like Christ-like cities exist in the United States, who are actually taking care of these people, have seen what we're talking about, the going of, you know, downhill of more encampments in their cities, and yet they don't have bulldozers come through and bulldoze them off the sidewalk, because there's no last place to put them. It's these cities and these people, and yet we dump on them. The media and many people subliminally receive those messages, but have no interest in really investigating the truth of what's happening, which is that places like Oregon, from, you know, you bringing that story up triggered in my head. I thought it was just Portland, but when you're talking about, like, you didn't just volunteer at a soup shelter, you volunteered as a waitress in a whole system set up, not just to feed these people, but to give them almost like a rehumanizing experience to people who've been dehumanized. You know, and I could go much longer and further into this, right?
So could I.
But I'll have to leave it there a little bit. But if you want to, any final thoughts?
I will say this, so something that you should look up that's interesting is, I was told that Oregon is a test state. So a lot of government benefits, if you will, that our country is trying to see if they work, get tried kind of in Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hate to say this, but it is true that I know of. Oregon has some very good benefits as a state to people that are struggling. And so part of the challenge becomes in that, like, you have people that get put on some benefits to get some help, but the distance between where you are from, like, I get benefits and I get help with what I need here, to where you need, to where you would want to get to be able to be self-supporting,
Mm-hmm.
the gap between those two places is so large that a lot of people are stuck here.
Yep.
Because to go from here to here is so many thousands of dollars in order, like, for you to have basic things like health insurance or food
Mm-hmm.
or shelter. And so there's just that challenging piece.
And I think too, unfortunately, there's a tremendous percentage of these people for whom they are so, and people won't like this word, but, like, traumatized from their past, and so just unable to respond to those traumas to help themselves, because they were genetically wired that way. Many people experience trauma. Some people are able to categorize that and move past it, and other people can't, right? But there's especially among the homeless, a tremendous amount of trauma where they were not born into equal circumstances, and then lack the ability to pull themselves out of it, and then are on the streets. And I suspect for those people, there is no hope. Like, I don't mean even hope. It's just, it will not happen. And people don't like to hear that being said, but there are people who are so stuck here, and they need to be over there, and they don't have the wiring in their body to ever get them to here. Now, there are some people who could receive enough help and want to, that they could get there. But there's my point is, there's a tremendous percentage of that pie chart of those people who, even given all the help in the world, if they were asked to show up even at, like, a most basic entry-level job, would lack the functional social wiring to not get fired within 2 weeks of that job, right?
Absolutely.
And those people, either we let them sleep covered in their own feces on the road, or we try to help them, right? And as a society, we've chosen the former.
To close our eyes a lot of times.
Pretend that it's not there, or that it's not happening. Yeah.
Well, so I'll just say this, like, in serving people and, like, coming to your table as your waitress, and I'm making eye contact and I'm saying, what would you like today, right? That piece of just human eye contact is powerful, because if we're talking about whether or not that's going to take somebody from homelessness to being housed, I don't have a clue. But if that's going to take them from this day, in this moment, in this very space of time, you had real human connection, and you had somebody offer value to you as a human being over a period of time. If people express value to you, that helps you heal from your traumas, right? So I've heard it said like the opposite of addiction is connection, which is a fascinating thing to explore. But honestly, for people that have been, I hate to say it, but felt thrown away, whether it be by society, whether it be from their family of origins, whether it be through the traumas that they've experienced, if you can fight back against that lie that they're not enough, even just once, by just like, I'm going to see you as something other than a person who left garbage or this or that or the other. I'm going to just see you as a human being. I think that you've done something that's meaningful.
I absolutely agree. Yeah.
So, thanks for spending the day.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for hanging out with me. It's been awesome.
It's lovely.
Yep. Gotta say, so far, I really like Oregon. So I think this is kind of wild. I heard this like wood twisting sound that made me think there was a bear up here. I haven't seen a bear, but what I noticed as I was looking and I'm moving along is how all I can see in my view, peripheral and ahead, are tree trunks. Like everywhere. It is such a thick forest, but it's interesting because it's just trunks on the bottom. There are no branches shooting off. Just solid trunks in every direction. As far as I can see, more or less.
Nights ago, and everything above, like, it goes pretty high up there without any trees.
Yeah, I saw Mount Shasta like a couple of weeks back, and what I saw was like, oh wow, that looks like a 14,000 foot mountain, but I had no idea what it was. And then it turns out it is almost a 14er.
It's
and then
14 too.
Oh yeah, it is 14. And then it's Mount Shasta, and so like has a epic name. And I feel the same way when I look at whatever this is. But this looks more like a volcano to me.
It's so steep.
But actually, was Shasta also a volcano? I think it may have been.
Well, this whole...
Alrighty, hanging out here with Dylan this morning.
So Dylan is my real name,
Okay.
and nothing really resonated,
Yeah.
I guess. And then there came a certain point where it was just like everyone knew me as Dylan,
Okay.
so it didn't make sense to even consider any trail names at a certain point.
Yeah.
In the beginning, everyone wanted to name me something related to my barefootedness because I was totally barefoot to start.
Just FYI.
Yeah.
When I met him, he's rocking sandals. Has been all morning. Do you wear those? Is that how you've hiked the whole trail?
So the first 77, mile 0 to mile 77, I wore nothing, completely barefoot.
Okay.
Mile 77 to mile 329, I wore Vibram 5 fingers, the toe shoes with the compartment for each toe. Could still feel the ground beneath me, but it was just a little bit more protection to be able to increase my mileage, because I was barefoot doing like 10 miles a day, got the Vibram 5 fingers, bumped me up to like 15 miles a day. But by mile 329, I was like, dude, I'm never going to make it to Canada in time.
Yeah.
Doing 15 miles days.
Yeah.
So I decided to get a pair of conventional shoes. Still got 0 drop wide toe box, the Ultras.
Yep.
I just threw those out this past week.
And you're back
and
to...
I'm at mile 1700.
Yeah.
So I put 1,400 miles on one pair of shoes.
One pair of shoes.
Yeah. So I would have access to food every day. I didn't have to worry about that. So that was nice. for a convenience factor. In terms of the people, I got to actually like meet the people of the areas that I'm going through. Like, I'm going through all the towns, whereas on here I'm mainly just going through the woods and only going to towns to resupply and then pop back on trail. I'm really getting to experience the culture of the micro culture of all of these little areas that I'm going through on the bike that I don't get to do on the trail. So I like that human element to it. So that's one of the reasons why I believe that I like bike packing more. I'll tell you everything that I like more about bike packing. I like that I don't have to worry about logistics of getting off trail and going into a town to resupply and having to carry that food for several days and like actually plan my food amount. Like, even if I'm going through a very remote area on the bike, my route still would take me through at least past at least $1 General, you know, in that day. Another thing that I like about the bike trip is, since you're able to do so many more miles in a day, in a week, the entire landscape of what you're going through changes so much faster. Whereas out here, I've felt like I'd be going through so much of the same before having any change. On the bike, change came a lot faster. So those are some of the things that I like more about bike packing.
That all sounds amazing to me, and it's funny. It sounds, I think maybe to an outsider, hiking an entire trail sounds very similar to riding a bike across the country. But to me, now having hiked long trails, bike packing sounds so different from hiking, and on some level even more enjoyable, because you're not loading your backpack up with all this heavy weight. So
yeah, for real, the bike is carrying the load.
Yeah,
too.
it's much more enjoyable, I would imagine. And then, like you're saying, like stopping in a town and not the little stores may not be ripping you off the way that they are like on these trail towns, you know. And so I could imagine how you could save a lot more money. Yeah, everything about that sounds amazing. It makes me want to maybe try that as my next adventure. Yeah.
Good, man. The unsung heroes of any adventure are the people that are involved. I definitely was not expecting that. When I set out on that bike trip, I set out to explore the places, and what I found was just kind people everywhere I went who took interest in what I was doing, who, regardless of who they were or what they believed, you know, just a stranger, meeting a stranger, having a great interaction, oftentimes them being extremely generous to me unexpectedly, and it just really restored my faith in humanity.
That's awesome. On that note, was there ever a time where you stayed in so not like a formal trail angel's home, you know, or a hostel, but where you just stayed in a true stranger's home? They just opened their home up to let you stay there.
So the day is going on. It's my birthday. And we just don't know what we're gonna do about sleeping. We don't know where we're gonna go. We called some campgrounds that are up ahead, they're full. But all that we knew was that we were coming into this small town called Seaside, and it was a nice little town. So we were like, all right, what does this town have to offer? The main thing was to see the Truman House.
President Truman?
From the Truman Show.
Oh, the Truman Show. Okay. Yeah.
That's what that town is known for. It's the cutest little town. It's just like in the movie, one of the most beautiful towns I've ever been to. And so we don't know what we're going to do, but we just want a picture of the Truman House, and then we're going to keep cycling. So we're in front of this little house just taking photos, and this little old lady comes out in her wheelchair with 2 dogs off leash. She's just going to take them for a walk down the block. 2 big dogs, no leash, woman in a wheelchair.
You gotta love it.
That's the kind of town this is.
Yeah.
And she sees us with our bikes. She's used to people taking photos of her house. So she lived there when they filmed that in her house. She gave them permission to use her house.
Okay. And I missed that part. She's coming out of the Truman House?
Yeah, the Truman House is her house.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Somehow I missed that initially. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I thought it was the neighbor to the Truman House.
No, we're taking pictures of her house, which
Yeah.
she's used to. But she was like, what's up with the bikes?
Yeah.
And we told her.
You're like,
what
what's
we
up
were
with the
doing.
house?
Yeah. So we're riding across the country, blah,
Yeah.
blah. I told her about what we're doing. And she was so amazed. And she was like, oh my God, I have a little cottage that I rent out just like a couple blocks down. Because she asked us where we're staying that night. She's like, oh my God, I have this cottage. I rent it out, but no one's there tonight. You guys have to stay there. And so she gives us the key or the code, whatever it was. A super friendly lady. And we go over and, we're expecting like some little cottage. But dude, this was like such a beautiful, beautiful cottage.
Yeah.
Like it was really lovely.
Yeah.
Like we had the whole place to ourselves.
Yeah.
Like it was a house-sized cottage, you know what I mean?
It's the cottage of the lady who owns the Truman House,
Exactly,
basically.
and it's right down the street from the beach.
Yeah.
So my 20th birthday, entering this new decade, the day went from just like potentially having to really scramble into the night trying to figure out where I'm staying to getting offered this unbelievable stay by the lady who lives in the Truman House from that notorious movie with Jim Carrey. And we were able to end our cycling day like earlier than expected. We, showered, went to the beach, jumped in the water. There were like stingrays swimming by. We went to like the food truck area of town. It was like such a nice night.
Yeah.
And that was my 20th birthday.
That's such a good story. Thank you for sharing that. And I love, there's like a moment where it 180s. And I feel like in my head, I call those moments just 180s, where you think it's going one way on the trail and it's typically not a good way. And then something 180s on you. And now it's like the best thing you could imagine. Like you're just
Those
going down the
moments are
trail.
so dope.
Yeah. Right. It's like kind of like a flow state moment. But what's funny about flow state moments is how varying they can be in terms of what the experience is when this flow state is triggered. And here you are playing a card game with a family you just met after getting gut punched twice, and then got a 180 into a what I call also like a how did I find myself here moment, but in a good way, right? Because you have a how did I find myself here moments on the trail as well. These magical moments which virtually always involve other people, strangers. And it's like next thing you know, you're sitting in some guy's backyard while chickens are running around and the dog's barking at you. But then he like walks out with like barbecue or something, or who knows what the thing is.
Yeah.
But
Dude,
like
we played cards that night until like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
It was crazy. We just couldn't get enough of it.
Yeah.
It was so fun.
That's awesome.
When you go barefoot, your feet are sending signals to your brain at such a rapid speed that your brain is able to tell your feet while it's landing like how to land lighter. Trouble is, when you're wearing a pack that adds extra weight to your body.
And you have a tiny pack, I'm just noticing, by the way. That is one of the smallest packs I think I've seen on the trail. Yeah.
So when I started, I had a 65 liter
And is that like a 40?
That's
35?
37 interior. I don't know what the pockets are.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But yeah, when I started, I was a noob, so I had no clue what gear I needed or didn't need. So my pack was heavy. Even with that, it would be hard to go barefoot just because you can't truly be as light as you need to be on your feet.
Like, I met somebody else, a trail angel in Dunsmuir was telling me like when she gets really stressed out, she just walks outside, takes her shoes off, and goes and plants her feet in the grass. It just grounds her on some level. And so I'm curious for you, is there, like, do you feel like walking barefoot is almost like a sixth sense that people are missing out on by not doing it? Because people, when they hear barefoot, they think, oh, you're pretentious, you're walking without shoes because you think you look cool. That's what a typical person might think. But I think it's a much deeper than that, right? Like you do it not for aesthetic reasons, but for almost sensorial reasons. Like it's a sixth sense is what I would imagine. Is there any truth to that?
I think you have a closer relationship to... It was like riding a bicycle across the country versus driving across the country. I'm just making myself closer to the thing that I'm going through. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
And by like mean, when you have a romantic partner, you hug them, right? Imagine never hugging them, or only hugging them like once every month or something. No, you usually hug them like every day, or every time you see them. That physical touch brings you guys closer. I want to physically touch the earth. I think there's something there.
And again, like, I think that there are people out there cynically minded who could think that that's just, I don't know, like aesthetic talk or something. But I think in reality, if people really think, like, because everybody's walked barefoot accidentally one time from a gravelly parking lot onto fresh beach sand, and they know what that feeling is of that sand running between their toes. It's a weird, like, it almost forces you to stop for a moment because it feels so good. And the way the water feels when it runs between your toes, and the way grass feels when you walk even in your backyard, or if you just go out into a field briefly, you know, because you get out of the campground and you're walking on dirt for a moment, and then grass for a moment, and then gravel for a moment, and then back to dirt. It feels amazing. Yeah. And so that's where I think people who are judgmental can have, I think, the wrong understanding of why people are hiking barefoot, because it's not easy. You couldn't do it for aesthetic reasons because it's so hard to actually do that. You know, your feet dry out and whatnot. I would imagine.
To be more of a why.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sweet.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the interview.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Just briefly filming to show how unbelievably well maintained the trails in Oregon are. It's largely dirt, but the dirt is not muddy somehow. It's like it's broken down tree material that's not quite like dirty dirt. And then you can see how the trail continues ahead, almost like someone plowed snow. It's been that way since Oregon started. Every now and then when you like cross a state border, you can see the immediate transition in the quality of the road from awful to excellent. Typically from states that think taxes are evil, into states that see the value of raising taxes when they're well managed, at least how they're spent. And anyway, the transition from California to Oregon was just like that transition on interstates, or I guess more like state highways, from bad to excellent. I mean, the trail in California is excellent, but I mean, look at this. The trail in Oregon, it feels like you're walking almost on like a tumbling floor in a gymnastics gym, where there are like the floor is spring loaded to minimize impact. That's how this dirt feels. So pretty crazy lightning happening as I'm working my way up a high point. There's kind of an ominous feeling to this hike. The first strike, there's that, I think it's H.G. Wells' book, War of the Worlds. I never read it, but there was the movie with Tom Cruise, and it opens with a crazy lightning storm with all these like vertical straight down strikes. And so there was one of those just like, I don't know, 5 minutes ago as I was working my way up the hill in this like eerie looking fog, and there's nobody else out here. Yeah, just completely, I was like, well, you know, kind of jumped back. It completely caught me off guard. But I'm relatively close to where I'm going to camp for the night. So hoping, yeah, I don't know. I don't really care. It'd be cool if there's a lightning storm now, but it'd be ideal if that started after I'm in my tarp and can sit down and enjoy it. Already it rained last night. This is where I slept with my tarp. It rained all night last night. And then I set the tarp up, got in under it, and I felt so warm once I was just even under the tarp. I'd been walking in rain for a couple of hours. And then changed. All I had was one dry shirt. I haven't been carrying the same number of clothing items as I was carrying on the AT, which made that harder at night. And then this morning I had to put all the wet clothes back on to preserve the dryness of the dry clothes in the event that it rains more today and tonight. And it's already misting, I can see here. It's super tempting to wear your dry clothes the next day, but you quite possibly will get 0 sleep at night if you only have wet clothes to sleep in at night. So here I am shivering down this freaking mountain, wet, and it's cold out. Now it's snowing. I don't have any cold weather clothing. I guess my fleece shirt that I've been wearing, which is supposed to keep you warm down to like, I don't know, 35 degrees Fahrenheit, is kind of warm weather. Or cold weather clothing. And I'm still wet from the rain, and it's super windy. Quick video because I have my phone working. The rain came back, and it's at this elevation, it's actually snow. I went down 1.5 to 2 miles, probably 1.5 miles from the PCT down. Checked my phone again. Turns out there was a 180 in the trail where it met another trail. The classic way to just walk the wrong direction right off the trail, even though it looks exactly like you're walking on the trail without even turning. If you can imagine, it's like the trail does a 180, and right where it does a 180, another trail joins right in line with the PCT. So if you just walk straight, you're walking on the wrong trail. So I did that. I walked straight for 1.5 miles down, and I was happy because I got down at a low enough elevation that I was out of the snow. It's only snowing up here. And then I realized, oh wow, I have to turn around and walk all the way back up into the snow and then follow a ridge line for miles at an elevation that will remain in the snow. So this is what I look like. You can see it collecting on my bag. I don't know, it is what it is. Here we go.